Welcome to the podcast, where we teach you how to create marketing that pops. Get ready for refreshing conversations with industry experts, trendsetters, and creative minds that'll leave you bubbling with inspiration. Get ready to turn up the volume on your business. Let's get popping. Okay, welcome back to Marketing That Pops. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Michelle.
And today we are continuing our series with AI in the cannabis industry and how tech is just kind of shaking things up in the space. Today we are joined with a special guest, Eric, from Terpli. He's the CFO and a co-founder. Terpli is known as an AI Budtender, being that guy that kind of helps your website shoppers make those more confident purchases. So Eric, thank you and welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So I was kind of telling you a little bit before we got started that every episode we start with a debunked myth. And today's no different. We have one for you. So today's myth is munchies are inevitable when taking any type of cannabis. What are your thoughts on that?
Munchies are created by taking any type of cannabis?
Yeah.
That's the myth?
Yes.
For me, it really depends. It depends on a lot of different factors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it happens every single time that you consume cannabis. It depends on how your endocannabinoid system reacts. If you're not familiar with the way a human biome works, is that you have a particular endocannabinoid system, which is how your body reacts to the different endocannabinoids within cannabis: THC, CBD, CBN, GHCD, any of the cannabinoids within those products. Because everyone reacts so differently, there's no way that we can say that it happens to every single person. For me, if I'm consuming and then I stay up too late, there's also a component of the timeliness of whether you've consumed and gotten past that upper threshold of I'm past sleepy and now I'm just snacky. That does happen to me pretty much all the time. So it really just depends on a lot of the different criteria, your body and how you react to products, the products that you're consuming, and then most importantly, is the timing and the environment that you're
in. Michelle, have you ever experienced getting the munchies?
No.
No?
Never?
No. Yeah, I'm not like an avid smoker. So if I do anything, it's like gummies. But I haven't really experienced that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting component with gummies as well, because your body reacts differently to edibles than it does inhalables. Just because the boiling point of certain terpenes and cannabinoids that are present in cannabis are digested and ingested into your body differently when you smoke versus when you have an edible. Most edibles are also distillate products. And so a distillate product doesn't have necessarily the same entourage effect as a inhalable. For me, if I consume an edible, THC is a stimulant. I eat an edible. I am not a fall asleep on the couch person and eat a bunch of snacks. I eat an edible and I clean the house and I listen to a book and I kind of go a little bit neurotic because I'm really high. So it really just depends on the person. Maybe you need to just smoke a little more, Michelle. I think that's
yeah.
That's interesting that it makes you do that and like helps people get tasks done. I have heard we were at a dispensary and one of the budtenders was telling us that she likes to drink like one of like the THC drinks before she goes and like does a workout or something, because she just feels like she's like really in with her body, in tune, and like she just gets a better workout. And I was like, that's really interesting. I've never even thought about that.
Have you ever done yoga? Just regularly?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever smoked before you do yoga?
No.
Oh, you'll feel yourself. It's awesome. You all of a sudden, every single breath that you take in a really strenuous position, you can actually feel your muscles relax into that pose. It is amazing pre-workout. I don't really consume during the week as much as humanly possible. I'm just too busy. But smoking before a workout on like a Saturday for me, or before I play golf, or before I go ski, or like any of those outdoor activities, hiking, amazing. Because all of a sudden you're more in tune with your breath pattern, you're more in tune with what your body is actually feeling. You might stop and take that break and stretch where you would have just powered through or given up. So I know a lot of people that use it for sports performance.
Interesting.
Cool.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you debunked our myth, so that was good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
So I have a question for you. So I have heard that if you gave the same like weed to the two different people, they could totally respond differently. Like one person could make them sleepy, and then one could make them like really hyper, because everybody's body reacts differently. Would you say that is true?
Absolutely, yes. That's the individual's endocannabinoid system that I mentioned earlier. A great example is actually me and my co-founder, Peter. He's ADHD, openly so, and really proud about the way that he's been able to use cannabis to help him relax after a long day and curb some of those symptoms that he may have because of ADHD that normally he would have to take pretty significant medication for if the situation was different. A good example of that is the individual terpenes that my body reacts to versus Peter. I primarily consumed when I was at Big Four in the accounting department for far too long. I would consume for pain relief, stress, and sleep, primarily because I was working 100 hours a week and I needed something to get me off of that grind. I found that during, 5 or 6 years after college, that changed. My biochemistry changed. The product chemistry also changed. There was a much larger focus on high THC products, which are generally also high in a terpene called limonene. For me, limonene, overstimulating is all get out. It created an adverse effect for me versus what the cannabis that I was consuming previously, to where instead of being a pain reliever and a stress reliever, I was overstimulated. I was anxious. I tensed up. My entire neck, back, shoulders would all tighten up. Another great example is for Peter, since he's ADHD, many times your endocannabinoid system, and this isn't the same with every single person, many times your reactions are reversed. So for him, terpenylene, which is commonly associated with like that gassy smell, he can consume that at the end of the day, pass out, nice and relaxed, chill. For me, if I smoke a high terpenylene product, I feel like I got stabbed in the heart with an adrenaline needle. That is the neurotic. I'm cleaning the house. I'm calling my mom. I'm going out and doing all of these things that I all of a sudden almost, not to mitigate the severity of ADD and ADHD, but I almost feel ADD because I'm going 1,000 miles a minute in a bunch of different directions. So it really just depends on how your body reacts. And that can change over time, and it can change with the products as well.
Yeah. That makes it really hard for people to decide, which is why you're here and you have the free product.
Exactly.
Good layup, Michelle. Yeah, good job.
I can help. Call me.
It was not planned. It just happened. I just got lucky.
Well, I do kind of want to get into it. So can you tell us a little bit about like the mission and kind of what started this whole Terpli's mission and vision, and how you guys even found yourself here?
Absolutely. So truth be told, the entirety of the credit should go to Peter, my co-founder. This is really his brainchild. He was at USC doing his MBA in tech commercialization when he actually took Kristen Yoder's terpene workshop down in LA. And that's when he first understood what a COA was. And a COA, if you're not familiar, is a certificate of analysis. It's the chemistry reporting that's required with every product. Traditionally, it was a health and safety test. Does it have a certain level of arsenic in it? Does it have a certain level of water content? Those kinds of tests to make sure that it was safe for human consumption. What it's been adapted into over the course of time is a much more robust test, depending on what state you're in and depending on whether the brands and retailers can actually afford the testing. Just depends on the individual state. However, they've advanced that testing to include things like the individual minor cannabinoids, like a CBD is probably the most commonly known minor cannabinoid, as well as terpenes. When Peter saw a COA that had full suite of terpene testing, full suite of minor cannabinoid testing, his first thought was, holy crap, this is a roadmap to my high, just in a language I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we can't theoretically lie about is the underlying chemistry of these products. What I can fabricate throughout the supply chain is what I call it. I can make up that's the strain name designation. I can make up whether it's an indica sativa hybrid, and many times, unfortunately, it's actually changed throughout the supply chain as well. If a product isn't selling well, they'll just change the name. Not my favorite practice of all time, but it's something that actually happens. So what that results in is that customers, the end consumers, are marred in misinformation. There's not a lot of transparency into what's actually in their products. There's not a lot of confidence going into that transaction. If it's a 50-50 shot that I'm expecting to feel sleepy and I'm up at 2 a.m. cleaning the house, that's a bad consumer experience.
Yeah.
We've broken that consumer's trust, and they have so many options in the space that they'll either go somewhere else, or unfortunately for the can of curious that we finally got to come back and try it again, they got way too high, didn't get the thing that they wanted, product's gone again. I'm not going to consume for another 40 years. Those are the kinds of folks we really want to make sure that we give them a very, very positive returning experience. So the dream is the ability to have the transparency into all of those underlying COAs. And what Peter did is he actually created the first generation of Terpli, which was a mobile app that we launched just in the LA area. We did not love the mobile app business model from him being a financial planner at one point and a finance major, me being a CPA for 10 years in Big Four accounting. A lot of mobile apps fail as a business. And so we took a good hard look at the way that people were shopping for weed online. This was right at the height of COVID. So many retailers went from 0% sales online to 100% sales online in the drop of a hat. We were an essential business because people needed their medicine. But in states that it actually used to be illegal to sell weed online, all of a sudden it was required. So the only options out there were to turn on e-commerce that were directly associated with the point of sales that the retailers were already using, primarily Dutchie and Jane. Not to disparage the companies, great partners of ours, friends of ours, and we have healthy relationships, but the end consumer experience there is about a decade behind the regular e-commerce experience. If you think about the way you shop on Amazon, it is nothing like what we see in cannabis, which unfortunately many times is a glorified inventory listing with a bunch of made up names. So customers are just thrown in there and it's good luck. I hope you find what you're looking for. And there's no guidance. So we adapted the original model, which was a machine learning model that Peter created based off of the underlying chemistry components of the products, coupled with user reviews. So you have your user reviews that are publicly available, like Leafly or Jane. Unfortunately, sometimes fairly low quality, aggregated at the strain name level, which is a naming convention that has no benchmark, aggregated nationally. So the cannabis in California is supposedly the same exact cannabis in Michigan, which isn't true. And then white labeling is rampant since I can change those naming designations. So we've augmented that public review set with private reviews baked directly into our tool, powered by the likes of an Alpine IQ or a Spring Big to incentivize customers to leave those reviews. And that gives us a feedback loop. So now we understand Michelle consumed this product. This is exactly how she felt. So the next time she comes in looking for that experience, we can match her to a product that's chemically the same or similar as something she's already enjoyed. That learning component that really makes Terpli your personal Budtender.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear the story. I know that there's so much red tape when it comes to the cannabis industry. Did you guys find yourselves in any hardships when you guys were kind of developing this to kind of bring it to the space at all?
Definitely. I mean, it's hard. It's also the markets that you pick can be
Yep.
fantastic. The markets that you pick can be terrible. Peter and I met when we were roommates, best friends, and whole 9 yards. We had the same birthday. Our shared birthday was 2 days ago, 3 days
Oh,
ago.
nice. Happy birthday.
Thank you. So it was very serendipitous for us to work together, but I was living in Dallas. We met at SMU. And I was Dallas born and raised. So one of the first markets we went after was Oklahoma. Not a great market to start with a tool like this where there's 2,200 retailers, not a lot of quality control. So a lot of the hiccups and the difficulty that we had at the very beginning actually are still difficulties now, which is the availability of chemistry reporting. For instance, Colorado, no one tests for terpenes, at least not a lot of us. Why? The operators here are on such slim margins, it's not worth the cost. It's an additional few dollars on every single test. And when you're running hundreds of them every single week, adds up really quickly. So the availability of the chemistry reporting is difficult. One of the big things that we have been blessed with is partnership. Thankfully, at the timing that we started doing this, we had amazing partners like an Alpine, like a Dutchie on day zero that kind of just believed in the overarching sentiment for what we were going for and went out on a limb and gave us integrations before we had really demonstrated we were worth our salt and helped us demonstrate that.
Yeah.
That's something that is a success story at the end of the day, but is a hardship for most.
For the dispensary owners, like what's kind of like that deciding factor or that hook in that you feel really helps them want to start to implement Terpli?
It depends on your school of thought. So there's a couple different schools of thought. I like to think of it as hard numbers. I still am a CPA for a few more days. Hard numbers, and then the softer stuff. So when it comes to hard numbers, the big things we're focused on are the e-commerce KPI that most marketing teams and retail teams are focused on, which is conversion rate or likelihood of them buying, part size or average order value, and then in my mind, most importantly, lifetime value or customer retention, the ability to get a customer to come back. Those are really the key components that we impact. Usually it's around a 15% increasing rate of conversion, which is fantastic. 15 to 20% larger cart, which is equally good, also depends on the state. And then a doubling in customer lifetime value if they've engaged with our tool and signed into loyalty. What we've found is that if they come back and leave a review, that lifetime value will double again because we've got them in this, not only a feedback loop for understanding the chemistry for the products, but we've got them in a feedback loop for themselves on what the consumer experience can actually be. I come in, I get a recommendation, I get a couple of points, 10 cents, pennies on the dollar. They buy, I reward them again, they come back, they leave a review, I reward them again, and then I route them directly into that experience. It's a new way of buying that makes a customer feel empowered throughout the entire process. That is the hard numbers side of things. Where it gets really exciting is in the current state and the future state is on the marketing and the data analytics and consumer understanding perspective. So from a marketing component, if you think about what a customer has done as they go through our tool, is they've effectively filled out a questionnaire. It's a survey. And it's all zero-party data. Most of what we're focusing our retail efforts and marketing efforts on right now is point of sale information based strictly on what did you buy. Many times what you bought is very different than what you wanted. It's also very different than what you end up liking. It just depends. So we're actually surveying every single one of these customers. How do you want to feel? How do you want to consume? What potency would you like? What terpene content? What price are you willing to pay for that specific experience? All of that information is leveraged back to our retail partners so they can understand what I cultivate and process if I'm a vertical operator, what appropriate inventory mix is based off of what clients are asking for, as well as leading indicators for what's coming down the pipeline. If I can say, hey, at location A, 15% of my customers that searched for an edible were looking for a drink, And a drink is a new format that we really don't stock a lot of yet. And maybe only 3% of my sell-through rate is drinks, but it's coming. These are the types of leading indicators that we can start to put marketing dollars towards and inventory towards. All of that's reported back to our retail partners every single month, as well as all of the review criteria. Top performance by brand, top performance by individual product, all of the comments. And a lot of these retailers are starved for consumer feedback. If they're getting anything, it's usually anecdotal by the budtenders, which is a fine way of doing things, but it's not a data-driven approach. So it's empowering them to really understand what their customers want, and then ultimately whether they got it right.
Right. And to my understanding with Terpli, when a customer fills out a review on a product, like that's like other customers can see like these are the types of effects that I have. Is that correct?
Not yet. Not yet. Right now, the reviews are purposefully held privately. The only people that can see the reviews are you in your journal.
Okay.
So you've got a journal of all of your previous experiences. It pulls from your purchase history. So you can only leave reviews on products you've actually purchased. So you can see your journal and all of your experiences, and then the retailer can see everybody's. That's actually by design. So one of my very last project at EY was the IPO of a company called Solo Stove. If you've ever heard of them, they do the smokeless stainless steel fire pits and pizza ovens.
Okay, yeah.
They were the Snoop Dogg campaign of giving up the smoke. That was really just a ploy for a smokeless fire pit. Yeah. Solo Stove. So they're out of South Lake, Texas. I was the lead on the EY side that did their IPO in 2021. It was my very last project at the firm. And their ticker is actually DTC. All they do is e-com. They own Solo Stove. They also purchased an origami kayak company called Oru. They purchased an inflatable paddleboard company, and they actually own Chubbies, the short shorts. So I did all those acquisitions, rolled it up, took it public. That's where I got ingratiated in e-commerce best practices. And one of the ways that they really leveraged reviews effectively was instead of publicizing every review, which many times can be a double-edged sword. If it's good product and everyone rates it highly and it's got 4.8 stars, it's going to fly off the shelves.
Right.
But if you don't have a critical mass of reviews, because we have so many SKUs in cannabis, you're not really going to have more than 5 or 10 reviews. And then all it takes is one-star review to destroy the public image of that product. So instead of saying, hey, this has 3.7 stars, you say something along the lines of, this has 64 5-star reviews. Same information, published slightly differently for the purpose of stimulating a buy versus detracting from the opportunity.
No,
but
I do think
all in due time. If done well.
I think that's important, though, especially in the cannabis industry, because it is so, I don't want to say, I just feel like the decisions, just like you were saying earlier, how if someone doesn't have that right experience that they were looking for right away, it might deter them from ever wanting to return or try anything again. So I do think that that's kind of like a good business model.
Yeah. I think like you're saying too, the customer experience is like, if I bought something and I reviewed it poorly, you come in, you're like, whatever it was, I didn't like it. I need something opposite of that. Then it's like documented, right? So that like, I don't remember it was like in a pink bag or, whatever. And so this way it's like, it helps the bud tenders help them pick the right choice, right?
And it actually helps them help themselves, which is another key component, is that empowerment of the end consumer. Because right now, many of them really do feel powerless. I go into dispensaries here in Denver, and even I walk in and I feel a little bit rushed. I feel a little bit uncomfortable. We've got the holding cell where you kind of have to sit in there and give your ID, and there's bars all around you. And then when you do get there, the bud tenders, no matter how nice they are, you feel like you're holding up a line and that they've got other people, and you feel rushed into a decision. And so even the in-store experience many times is not what we hope for. Obviously, there's amazing operators out there that it's nothing like that for a consumer experience, but there's also those that's where it is. So it's meeting with customer where they're at now in order to help them and make them feel empowered themselves.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I was thinking about, and I think we had talked about, me and Michelle talked about this, about Terpli, is how it can be used as a tool to help budtenders learn products and like being able to like help, offer or suggest products to clients too, which is a great, I think like another selling point. Honestly, if somebody, a dispensary owner, is kind of like on the fence or thinking about like how else can I, integrate this into my business.
Yeah, and a lot of times the bud tenders are largest users.
Yeah.
It just depends on the establishment. I got one anecdote out of one of our oldest clients in Nevada where they've had it for so long that the customers that come in have already gone through Terpli on their phone. And it's almost I'm biased in saying audit measure. No one really, an audit is a scary word. But for me, it's just a verification. So they'll actually go through the process and they'll look for their product, and then they'll go to a bud tender in the store and they'll say, hey, I want a high little low THC flower and I want it for sleep. Do you recommend anything? And if the bud tender hits any of the three that Terpli's already recommended, they buy it instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a source of the removal of decision bias and decision paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have so many products out there. I have stores that have 1,000 SKUs. They have more SKUs than they have square footage. I don't know if that's the best model of all time, because what that does is it provides you have decision paralysis as an end consumer.
I call it
and we don't help them. In naming conventions, I see the craziest names. Not only do you have the OG Cheetah Piss, Alaskan Thunderbug, like those are crazy names in and of themselves, and we've gone further down the deep end. Not easier to understand. This isn't happy sleep time. It's 2 unicorns, 1 poop, and you're just like, what is that? What does that mean?
You're not wrong.
Scared. Yeah, and so like the integration. Just because I'm thinking of the COA and like not every dispensary is going to be the same products, and like that's what helps having that integration, right? Because it just whatever store you're at, you're going to be pulling different results based on what the store has there.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. And it is an adaptive model based off of, it's a hierarchy of logic. Because not every COA we're going to have, not every single product is going to be supported with that exact COA down to that individual batch. But if I have within a standard deviation for products that are chemically similar, I can give a pretty damn good recommendation for what it should do. And then once you leave a review, you've now confirmed or denied that estimate. And then it just gets smarter and smarter as more people give that feedback and more chemistry is readily available.
I know there are some consumers that will come in that are looking for, I really just want that high THC number, like give me your highest flower that has that. And so I've heard this from many dispensaries of like, that's not always the determining factor of what's considered a good product. So I like that in the sense of, Terpli kind of helps to mitigate those things of, that might be what you're searching for, but what about these other recommendations that have, different numbers, but also can get you to that effect that you're looking for?
Yeah. And a lot of times they'll still buy that one. That's okay. It's about giving them the exposure that there are other options other than that. And the logic of our tool prioritizes the outcome over the potency. You can filter by potency, you can filter by price, but we're focused more so on, is it going to give you the outcome that you're looking for? Maybe you're willing to spend the extra couple of bucks outside of the price range you originally put in there. And that's how we're able to build those carts. It's also a great way to be able to use the tool as exactly that, a cart builder, because beyond strength, you also want cannabis for a variety of sentiments. I want one for going to sleep at the end of the night, right? Usually I'll buy flower because I'll roll my own joints or I'll smoke out of a piece that I have at home. So it's probably going to be a flower product if I'm looking for a sleepy time product. If it's something that I want for having on me for going out or going to a concert, going to Red Rocks this weekend, I want to bring something with me to Red Rocks. I'm going to probably bring a vape cart, or I might just go pick up some pre-rolls on the way there. That's going to be more of a creative or energizing approach. So now I'm able to build a cart based off of multiple segments and multiple experiences. So instead of buying one product, I might buy three because I have a greater variety of needs for myself than just let's get high, because let's get high is a singular experience.
Yeah. You had touched on some of the integrations that Terpli has. I know that our audience would definitely be interested to hear a little bit more of some of those integrations that you guys have and like what's available within those. Specifically, I would say like Dutchie. And we actually just had Spring Big on, and I know that that's another one of your guys' partners. And yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more about like what is actually available within those integrations.
Yeah, we integrate with, I would say, and this is a made up number, but about 80% of the market penetration of technology players, if I had to guess. So from a point of sale perspective, you've got a Dutchie, you've got Trees, you've got Blaze, you've got Kova, Meadow. Trying to think of other ones off the top of my head. That's probably 75% of the market right there with those large players. I think I already said Trees. On the e-com side, you've got Dutchie, Jane, Himber, which is now Blaze e-com, Dispense, which is now Alpine IQ e-com. Those are the primary providers. You also have the variants of Dutchie Plus, Jane Roots, some of the headless solutions that are available within the space. And then on the loyalty side, the two largest players are going to be Alpine IQ and Spring Big, bar none. And Eric Zeri's been a friend of ours for a couple of years now. He's awesome to work with. We love their team a lot. So doing really cool stuff over there as well. From the standpoint of what information is pulled out of those systems, it's all via API. So these are true integrations where we're able to pull things like purchase history for populating your review journal. I can pull live inventory so I know what's actually in stock, and I can use that as a measure to match the COA to the product on the shelves so I know how to route a customer. And on the e-com side of things, it's actually fairly simple. It's really just, where do I send them? Right? Which URL should they ultimately go to land on a PDP and buy that product? When it gets to the loyalty side, that's when it's really exciting. And honestly, some of the more complicated integrations, because we are able to allocate loyalty points directly into a customer's wallet to incentivize. What that requires is that they sign up for loyalty. So within that path, we also have an opportunity to get signups. So we'll boost signups by 8, 10, 12%, just because now we're putting an incentivized offer for sign up in front of them as well. So it's really complementary between a Terpli and a loyalty program, because I can get them to sign up, I can incentivize them, they go spend, and then we are a huge component of the replay value after the fact. And what we do is we don't have a Terpli profile. They just log into their loyalty wallet. That way we don't have 2 or 3 sign-ins. We can then track those customers in your, for instance, Alpine IQ dashboard. We've got pre-baked audiences within AIQ to where I can track and I can see Michelle came in, she used Terpli, she bought this product. This is how it impacted her time to return, her cart size, and then ultimately, most importantly, as I mentioned before, her lifetime value. What is she going to be worth over the course of her purchasing at this store? And that's really just the beginning.
So how do you think AI has helped launch your product, and has that helped people be more open to using Terpli?
I think so. I would say it's like 60% positive and 40% negative with the onset of just AI as a buzzword. Honestly, many people have claimed to be AI when it's really just a chat GPT wrapper around, an API elsewhere. And that's not really necessarily, you're leveraging an AI tool, but it's not intelligence specifically surrounding the cannabis product itself. It's just using a designation that it grabbed elsewhere that's honestly limited to the same information that a strain name means. So if I have a chat GPT wrapper that I'm running as another AI Budtender that gives product recommendations, it's going to be limited to strain name designation, which once again could be made up. Probably doesn't have the same quality control or the chemistry information. So that's where it's a give and take. I think that with as many people that have gotten excited about the moniker of being AI, lesser, but a equal in terms of strength of feeling, are vehemently against AI, especially some of those in the older demographic. They're scared of it. They think it's going to take their job. A lot of people ask me, they're like, "Oh, so you're trying to replace our Budtenders?" It's like, absolutely not. There's no way that we can do that, let alone would want to do that. Rather, it's a tool for them to be able to leverage so that they don't need to memorize the chemistry of 1,000 products. That's impossible. Let's make their job easier. Let's empower you through that process. And then most importantly, translate that soft touch that you get in the store online where you can't be. Or if you are, you're monitoring a live chat, and people like to troll live chats. People like to use the anonymity as a way to complain and be really mean. And it ruins the budtender's day to have to be a budtender in person and a budtender online simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And then from our standpoint, Michelle, for AI tools, we get to have a lot of fun with it. We're not VC backed. We're a fully bootstrapped team. There's 7 of us total. And so a lot of what we get to do is focus on innovation and efficiency internally. So we do AI upskilling. We'll actually have every department head, which is basically every person because everyone's doing something different, present tools to one another. This is a new AI tool that exists in this space that can help solve this problem or that problem. And we get to go explore it together. So it is a pervasive ideology of how can we leverage all of this to be 10x developers and be more efficient as humans and be better at our jobs and serve our customers better.
Mm-hmm. So when you guys first started, how did you market yourself? And what are some of the better campaigns that have worked for you?
It's a great question because you're looking at the head of marketing, who is not a trained marketer at all. And I have never sold anything either. And I'm the head of sales. So yeah, it says I'm the CFO, but I'm really everything else other than CFO. So honestly, at the very beginning, being fully bootstrapped and just being really Peter and I and the dev team at the very beginning, early, it's please God, someone download us and give us a shot.
Right.
Those were the early days. We'll give it to you for free. Let us write a case study. Mm-hmm. As we got bigger and bigger, as we started to expand, because we're in 20 states now, which is really cool because we get to talk and understand 20 different states. It's hard for me because I have to remember exactly what's going on in 20 different states. But the overarching campaigns that have been most successful for us are, honestly, when it comes down to it, unfortunately, is less focused on the intrinsic value of it as a marketing analytics tool and much more focused on I can increase your cart size. Because right now dollars talk. Because the cannabis industry is in a really tough spot.
Yeah.
Just broad strokes. And everyone is operating on such small margins or truthfully not making money. So it's hard to sell an ancillary service that isn't required for my lights to be on and me to be selling weed. It's hard to sell that. So really the thing that speaks the most to folks is giving my customers a different experience, differentiating me from my competition, giving me that leg up. And then what are the dollars and cents that it can impact my business positively?
So do you provide like free trials so that, say, if a dispensary is like, oh, it's so tight already, I don't know, I can't afford a few $100 more a month, like, do you provide free trials, prove that, look, we increased your cart size, and then do you still want to do it? That type of.
Yeah. Not anymore, truth be told. At the beginning, yeah. The problem is taking a step back, right? Taking my emotion and my personal bias out of it as much as I can. If I was an operator and I got a free opportunity to have an AI tool on my website that I can have installed in 48 hours and I don't have to pay a dime, and all I have to do is give you my Dutchy point of sale API key and put 2 lines of JavaScript code in my global header of my website, and all of a sudden it works, I would be inundated. One, it would be too much. We would have too many people asking for it for free. And
Right.
honestly, I've gotten burned on free pilots because of that. What happens when you give free trials many times is that it devalues it devalues how people perceive the tool.
Mm-hmm.
Once they get it for free, they think it should be free because that's what their willingness to pay was nothing anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's ultimately not been as great of a boon for us to do free trials like that. We've considered it heavily, but we are at the point where we have to select our partners really, really delicately.
Yeah.
There's people that are going out of business. There's people that can't pay their bills. There's people that truthfully just don't want to pay their bills. And that's pretty crappy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So the level of trust that it takes and buy-in on both sides is important. I've never been a salesperson. I've always considered myself to be a business advisor. It's what I did at the firm for a long time, was consulting. I rather go in and say, hey, what ails you? How can we help your business? And the value of our service is in that white glove mentality, to where I pick up the phone when you call.
Yeah.
Right.
You need something, we do it. And by giving it away for free, I won't have and my team won't have the resources to be able to answer that call at all times. So I'd rather not. I'd rather make sure that I choose the partners well.
Would you say like a dispensary can expect like a 20% cart size improvement, 30%, like based on a lot of your clients, like what are you seeing?
Yeah. Roughly, I would say between 12 and 20% increase in cart size, depending on the state. States that have high volume, an Illinois, a Missouri, a New York, a New Jersey, they're tremendous because a lot of people are shopping for weed online. California as well is very strong. Arizona is very strong. Colorado's a tough one. We have 8% on average sales coming from the website. It's hard to generate a significant ROI. Not to say it can't work. We also have ways of implementing the tool. We just launched a brand new integration with Alpine IQ a couple weeks ago to be able to run Terpli on all dispense kiosks instantly. No extra work. The same URL you were already running on dispense kiosk, now Terpli just shows up, works seamlessly with their existing e-com. So we can leverage it in store and online. That's where we're trying to make an impact outside of just e-com. But the bread and butter is still, you want your website to stand out. You want your customers to spend more on your website. This is the best way to give them that guidance. And it's usually to the tune of around that 12 to 20% increase in carts. Granted, I've seen it as high as 55. I've seen it as low as 0 or negative. It just depends on what your business is doing.
What type of marketing tactics do you guys use currently?
Me, very, very limited. We don't have a whole lot of resourcing. Mostly LinkedIn, cold outreach, attending as many conferences and events as humanly possible. I'm blessed to be in Denver. We have a lot of amazing other ancillary companies that are here. So truthfully, a lot of our a lot of our success is attributed to amazing partners. A lot of website companies, a lot of marketing companies like your own, Michelle, is getting referrals in because we are a hand in hand with the web developers and web builders and marketing agencies, because our information can be leveraged back to them. We also enhance the impacts of the website itself. So a lot of it is referral partnerships from other tech providers, from marketing agencies like yourselves, and then LinkedIn, and then good old fashioned grit, just being patient, understanding and meeting our customers where they're at as well, and taking our time to make sure to gain that trust.
Cool. So if somebody out there is like, man, this is so cool, I want to go buy it right now. And like, what is the price ranges? Do you have different packages? How does it work?
Yeah, so we have a couple different versions of the tool. We've got a Terpli branded version, which is our straight out of the box, live in 72 hours. Our purple and green, you got a lot of this, which is great. Many people like to see it as an independent third party giving the recommendation, which some love. That's a little bit cheaper. That's depending on the size, because I'm not going to charge a 50 store operator the same, because the volume is so much greater.
Right.
Many times it's usually between like $200 to $300 per month per location. Then we have a white label version. The white label version is all of the additional features. It fully customized in terms of the images, the colors, the typography. We've got a little loading GIF for when the recommendations are loading. You can customize that and use it as a mini advertisement. You can highlight your in-house brands. So if you have your own vertical, if you're a vertical operator and you want your brands to show up with prioritization, you can have those highlighted. Important caveat: it is not a slotting fee. We must have a terpene tested COA to support that slot. Mostly because we refuse to lie to customers.
Right.
We can't sacrifice the ethos for how we give a recommendation. I'm willing to support a highlighted brand, but it's got to fit the criteria for what a customer asked for. Otherwise, we both broke trust. We both lose. We also have the ability to do welcome messages as A/B tests. So instead of the message popping up and says, try our AI Budtender, instead of saying that every single time, I can run 10 different welcome messages, measure the performance of each of those, and then create iterations based off of top performers by location, by brand, all that great stuff, to really maximize engagement rate. We can do a bunch of different formats. The kiosk mode, we do QR code flyers for customers so that they can have customers engage in the store as well, and pop-up banners on the website. That's the premier holy crap package. That's a little bit more expensive. That's somewhere between like $300 to $400 per month per location, depending on many things: rollout, size, location. If you're social equity, I give very big discounts. If you're coming from a referral partner, I give very big discounts, because we know we've already been vetted. I'd rather charge you less and build a long-term relationship.
Okay. Cool. So I talked about your company in my presentation in Grand Rapids, and now I'm presenting at MJ BizCon. So I'm doing this whole, okay, here's a type of AI. What are my the top two tools that you could use? How do they differ? If you were to put the same information in, like, what's the output? How is that going to be so much better? So just so you know, I talk about you.
Love it. Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that. I saw that you were speaking at BizCon, and I was like, I wonder if this is related to what we're talking about today. Because you're on an AI panel, right?
Yeah. And it's not a panel anymore. They said that the other individuals weren't really at the right level and didn't have as much experience as they thought once they started digging into it. So now it's a solo.
Tell them to call Peter. Peter will go on the panel with you. He's better at AI than I am.
So, yeah, I think I think I have a pretty good handle on how we're going to do it. I've already met with MJ. And so, yeah. So
cool.
if anybody's out there, if you're going to MJ,
Yes.
because we'll have
Make sure you come.
too. Are you having a booth at MJ BizCon?
We can't afford a booth at MJ BizCon. You talk about marketing strategies. That's unfortunately not one of them yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So
all in due time.
What we will do though is we'll have a free resources landing page for anybody that attends our presentation, and I can make sure that I have your information up there if anybody's interested. So
wonderful. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And it's good to know that, I mean, I have a couple of clients in mind right now, and I've talked to them before about it, and they're like, yeah, maybe not right now, but, because of the situation that everybody's in right now.
Yeah.
If we can increase that cart size, they'll be happy, and it's like they're doing crazy stuff just to get people in there, and if we can simply do something like your product, it's going to increase all the cart sizes. That's what they want, and people are buying
throwing good money after bad. They're trying to steal customers. It's almost similar. One of the things I try to draw a parallel between my life at the firm and life in cannabis, and they are polar freaking opposites. So there's very few times when I can actually do this well. But one of the things that drove me insane about the infrastructure of Big Four accounting when I was there is when you look at it from a high level, it is a pyramid. The hierarchy of individuals, you have a staff, you have a senior, you have a manager, you have a senior manager, you have a partner. You only got so many going up. And many times when you're looking at the promotion process, they'll snub people and underpay them. But if they're able to steal someone from somewhere else, they're willing to pay way more money to steal from another company that does the exact same thing as you. I'm going to pay extra?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any sense. Why not leverage the stuff you already have? Leverage the customers in this case you already have, maximize the benefit to them, which then intrinsically maximizes the benefit for you. Why steal from someone else when you can empower the ones you already have?
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you're paying a tremendous customer acquisition cost over there. It just doesn't always make sense. There's only so many new customers in a California market, in a Michigan market now, in a Colorado market especially. We're actually, I think, losing the grand total of customers because we have so many home grows here in Colorado.
That's true. Yeah.
Everyone's like, why would I buy from the store? I can just grow my own weed.
Mm-hmm.
That means we're actually losing the top of the funnel is getting smaller and smaller, not bigger and bigger. So that really lends into the maximization of the current clientele base, creating longevity, creating lifetime value. And the only way you can do that is to delight your customers. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we're trying to do.
So I have an idea for you guys.
Please.
Maybe you can create something like this for marketing agencies that people can come in to, this is what I want out of my marketing, and it keeps popping up. Here's the package for you. Buy now.
Honestly, and there's a lot of translatability, not to say that this is where we're going, but I've gotten asked many times, can you recommend coffee? Yeah. Could you recommend tequila? Could you recommend whiskeys, bev alcohol, wines? I mean, our initial inspiration came from two primary companies. There are many in there, but two big ones for us. One is Vivino. You guys are familiar with Vivino, where you can scan any label in the walking down the aisle, it'll give you basically a seller of what you've purchased previously, what you've liked. Because so many people that I talk to that shop for wine, they shop based off of the label, the price, and Unfortunately, the shape of the bottle. None of those things have to do with quality, right? That is quintessential THC shopping, right? I'm shopping based off of whatever the price and the potency is. Thankfully, we don't shop for wine based off of potency because that would be terrible. But it's the equivalent in that realm. And then the other one is a company called MyFit Analytics. You guys have any idea what that is?
That sounds so familiar to me.
You've
Is it
probably
kind of
used
like
it. It is specifically surrounding women's clothing.
Okay.
All clothing, really, but it's been most popular in women's clothing. And essentially what this tool does is it is a clothes measurement criteria system. So I wear large at REI,
Yep.
but I wear medium at I don't shop for clothes. Zara. That's the only other retailer I can think of off the top of my head right now. Right. So this is my size here. That's my size there. At Patagonia, Patagonia has weird sizing, or not. Cotopaxi. They are small, medium, large, large.
Yeah.
Very weird. Women's clothing, 1,000 times worse. Right, because you have European sizings, all of that stuff. And my wife's closet, I have no idea what's going on in there. It's scary in there. And so what this did is basically provide a confidence level for customers that that piece of clothing will actually fit them.
Yeah.
And one of the main theories in why that was important was when shopping for clothes online, the biggest problem that these retailers, direct consumer clothing retailers, had was returns.
Yeah.
Returns cost a ton of money for them. They usually can't resell it. They a lot of times give free returns. That costs them logistically and just cash outlay as well. So they lost buku bucks on people returning clothes. Not only that, if you buy the wrong size, you usually don't reorder a different size. You just return it and move on. So MyFit Analytics would give a sizing guarantee where you'd put in your favorite clothes that fit you the best. I like it slim. I like it baggy. I like it, this in the chest, this in the waist, whatever, this in the shoulders. And it would guarantee that fit. That was their sole purpose. I think they surpassed $1 billion in clothes sales facilitated. And I think they take an affiliate of 8%. That's a crazy business model. That is a crazy business model. So really interesting stuff, but it was can we combine these two and then make it for weed?
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here.
For your subscriptions, is it a minimum number of months? Is it how does it work?
It's usually a 12-month contract.
12 month. Okay.
I usually have an out clause where if they want to cancel, they pay for 2 months and we part ways as friends, kind of thing. Just because handcuffing people into a software technology agreement sucks. No one likes that, especially if your business is failing. I'd rather part ways as friends and find a way to revisit later when things are better.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, it's been. You mentioned earlier, you've been burned, but it's this industry is hard, because when you're putting all this work and that out there and then they don't pay, sometimes they just don't want to, or it's hard. And we have to be very particular with our clients that we will take on.
You guys run into the same problem. It's are they going to pay us? Or are they going to pay their supplier that they must pay in order to have weed on the shelves for them to sell?
Right.
Which I get. The controllers, as an ex-accountant, the controllers at these companies have to have it so hard. That has to be so difficult to prioritize and reprioritize all the time based off of cash flows like that.
Yeah. And a lot of the retail owners, they don't have a business background per se, and so just like anybody, they're trying to figure it out, as they go. And, I'm in this CEO roundtable, and they always talk about accidental business owners. It's like you didn't really plan to do this, but it kind of life happens, and it's like, well, I guess I'll start my company now, and then you're like, what? What's a profit and loss statement? Huh? How do I read this thing?
Yeah.
And so it's like you just, have to adapt.
It goes into your question earlier of like what were the most successful marketing campaigns that you've had. Truth be told, I had to take ROI out of my I took ROI and I took ROAS out of my marketing campaigns. Why? Because I actually had people go, what is that? What is ROI?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. I don't think we're going to be a good fit. Because if you don't understand that, I'm going to really struggle to explain to you why this is valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know like sometimes it's hard to like kind of encourage certain clients to go elsewhere, but I think in the end, sometimes you end up spending so much more time and energy on those clients that maybe have the smallest agreement or, and it's like, oh my goodness. And I know Springbank and Alpine IQ, like I've had conversations with them too, that they're just really starting to have certain requirements.
Yeah.
Because,
you have to.
They have to.
You don't want to be in the situation that you've spent all this time onboarding and, helping them through things. And then a month later, it's like, I'm just not going to pay my bill.
And
like,
that's honestly that's why I stopped doing the free trials, because I can't help myself. When I see people
the same way.
like making bad business decisions, I'm just like, okay, let's pause here. This has nothing to do with me and I shouldn't get involved in this, but why are you doing this, and this? And then I end up spending not just the time even that I talk to them, but additional time kind of diving into, okay, well, here's how I explain my very basic analytics over to you. Here's a much deeper analysis that has nothing to do with my reporting on where you're doing well and not well. I have given so much free consulting work away. And usually it's to the single store operators, usually in California and or other like deep legacy markets, California, Colorado, Canada. Those are the three worst culprits for taking free consulting time. And it's just because I feel obliged to help them.
Yep.
I feel like I have to help them. And I can never be successful unless they understand these things. And that's just a recipe for a waste of time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I did the same thing. And what's frustrating on our side is then I care more than they do. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you could do this. And then they are like, yeah, okay. And then they don't do anything. And I'm like,
yeah. If they just listen to me, it would be better.
Yeah. Why don't they all listen to us?
Why doesn't everyone just listen to us, Michelle? What the heck?
I know.
Eric, I want to ask you two final questions before we wrap things up.
Sure.
So where do you see Terpli going in the future? I know that there's some things, I'm sure everybody has things in the works. Where do you kind of see your guys' self in the cannabis industry in the future?
Oh man, that's an exciting one. So one, I am a pessimist in the standpoint that I like to consider, at least I don't like this, but I consider at this point that we are really just a few features, right? We're a few features of a larger ecosystem. Doesn't mean I want to be a point of sale system. God, no, I don't want to be a point of sale system. I don't really want to be an e-commerce system. What I would rather be is a suite of features that empowers all of these other components. So our focus with the AI Budtender was really, or is really, the enhancement of the experience. We're now advancing into more of the in-store experience to be able to run on kiosks. Granted, I'm not a kiosk business. I don't run those kiosks. I don't have the hardware. I don't want to own the hardware. I'd rather have amazing partners where that is their forte, and I can just plug my system in and make it even better. That is the collaboration that's required, unfortunately, in cannabis, because everyone is siloed. How can we create connective tissue between one another to be able to just make the ecosystem better? Collaborate rather than isolate, collaborate. And that isolation is really what we've been seeing more and more of in the technology world, unfortunately. I want to do the opposite, but I have to have good partners to be able to do that. And one of the big things that I'm most excited about is we've barely scratched the surface on the data analytics side for the information we're capturing. One important component is the point of sale and e-commerce systems are limited in the information that they're capturing from the end consumer, in the standpoint that it's based primarily off of purchase history. What did you buy? We're aggregating a criteria set that is very different. What did you want? What did you like? We also are able to see what did you buy, and then ultimately did you come back? All of those great things that the point of sale and loyalty systems are capturing as well. So the question is, can I start to push this information that we have to those other providers? So for instance, in a loyalty system right now, you can create an audience or a segmentation based off of, Olivia bought this product 5 different times. She's bought this product. She clearly likes this product. Cool. Do you ever get a text message that's specifically surrounding that product or products that are like that? Normally that outreach is 2 for $1.8 on Friday. Come on down.
Yeah.
Right. That is the extent of our marketing outreach. There is a stark lack of personalization. There's a stark lack of understanding and identification of that understanding and what a customer actually wants. If I have a customer that has never bought a concentrate, but in Terpli has looked for a concentrate 5 times, do I hit them with an offer for a discount on a concentrate, or do I advertise a Puffco? Maybe they're missing the apparatus. Maybe I need to push a educational material on what is a dab to that person. They've clearly looked, but they've never bought. Is there a way that I can now hyper-personalize the experience, not only on the front end of the user experience on the website, but within the outreach and messaging to where it's automatic? They don't have to fill out a questionnaire. A plugin and a AI Budtender, that's not the future. The future is for it to already be personalized based when they land on that website. It is already personalized to exactly what we expect them to want. So pushing those triggers, importantly for what customers are looking for, but beyond that, what they've actually enjoyed. A way different way to re-engage a customer is, hey, Michelle, a brand new product just dropped that matches your perfect chemistry for sleep based off of these other products that you've loved. 6 p.m. on a Sunday. We could have it delivered to your door before bedtime. Click here to buy it now. That's a way different push notification than 2 for $1.8 on Friday. Very, very different, more lucrative, truthfully, on the margin, higher ROI per action. Once again, it's about the maximization of the efforts that we're employing. And that's really hard to do, truthfully. That is a long tail. That is a complicated message to get to. So baby steps in order to augment the current segmentations. What audiences are working? How can we then build on those audiences, provide some level of personalization, identify that it makes an incremental difference, and now employ across the board, leveraging AI tools. Because the last thing that I've heard from my marketing friends that manage a loyalty system is, dear God, don't give me more audiences. I already have plenty of audiences. I don't know what to do with them now. We need to find a way to make that tool inherent and do it for them, prompt them, hey, do you want to send this out? Here's the ROI we expect on it based off of the others you've seen. So it's empowerment of those marketing professionals.
Honestly,
that ecosystem is really what we're looking for.
You're hitting the nose, because that is me, and I want that.
I'll call you when it's ready.
Okay, good. And well, my last question for you is, if you could snap your fingers and make one big change in the cannabis industry overnight, what would that be?
There's a lot. Okay. The easiest, and I hate to be, I'm not a very politically fueled person, but the easiest one is a change in the tax code. That's just the
Yeah.
obvious and easiest answer. If I were to change the tax code to not pay a 55% effective tax rate, then all of these businesses could make 20% more instantaneously. And a lot of these ailments that we're talking about would be fixed readily.
Yes. I like
That
that
would be the
answer.
easiest one.
Yeah.
Not to make it more about finances again, but that would be the easiest one. And it would be
at
the
the end
one
of the day,
that it relieves the stress of my partners. That is what keeps them up at night, is how do I pay my people? How do I take care of the families of my employees when I can't afford to pay myself? I can't afford to pay them because if I'll go to Uncle Sam.
Yeah. I think the state people also, like, they're giving out too many licenses. So it's like oversaturated, which is hurting the initial people that got started, that were the first ones there.
Yep.
Right. And then it's just, they need to spread them out. They should, take lessons from McDonald's. They do the demographics. How many are in this? Okay, this is our percentage that we can. Okay, now we can have a McDonald's here, and that's how they need to think about it, But they don't, and I think they just think about the tax dollars that they'll get,
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, but
charge X per license, so why not have 1,000 of them?
Yeah, exactly, and it's really harmful for the real companies that first initially got started, but it's like it's tough right now for everybody.
Yeah,
completely agree, and that's really where we're trying to create a positive out of that. And that's where some of our success stories, you see a lot of doom and gloom right now in the space. And when it comes back to like what marketing has worked well for us, I don't know if it's working well, but it makes me feel a whole lot better, is to share success stories.
Yeah.
At least for my psyche.
Yeah, and just to know that there's hope. You have to do the work. It's not going to magically come to you, but you do have to make these decisions and make the right decisions and do these marketing campaigns and buy these subscriptions to help your clients buy more. So
absolutely.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, Eric, we want to say thank you for being on the pod today. It was a great conversation. So thanks so much for sharing your insight. Honestly, it's been incredible learning about Terpli and all of the science and everything that you guys have put into it. And hopefully some dispensaries listening and they want to implement this on their website.
I know.
So
I know
where can
telling people about it so that
absolutely
and help our clients out.
And Eric, where can we find you on the internet?
Yes. So the easiest way, honestly, is if you go to terpli.io, which is our website, or terpli.com, there's a button there that says book a demo. For better or for worse, that goes directly to my calendar. At least for now. I'm also primarily on LinkedIn all the time. Eric Mercado or Mercado-CPA if you're looking for the URL. Those are the best places to find me. My email address is emercado@terpli.io. You can contact me directly if you're looking for help or partnership or opportunity or know someone that might be interested. Feel free to reach out.
All right.
Well,
thank you both
for listening. Perfect.
Have a great day.
Thanks for listening with us today. Stay tuned for the latest in web marketing and design from ThrivePOP. Want to be a pop star? Head over to thrivepop.com/podcast to join our mailing list for episode notifications, sneak peeks, listener feedback, and more.